Hello, everyone. This is Mike from Dimensional Walking. And today I want to talk to you about, I guess it's going to be a two-part series. And both parts will stand alone. You don't have to worry about going to the second one and going back to the first one. Hopefully you'll watch both of them because I think you're going to find them quite interesting. This is going to be about UFOs and aliens and my own personal experiences related to aerospace companies that I had done some work for, and the synchronicities between those two things, aerospace and UFOs and aliens, intertwangled with my own personal experiences. So anyway, so let's start out. This first part is going to be about actual experiences that I had when I was working for doing work for some aerospace companies. And I'm not going to be able to give any names, locations, because it's pretty tricky, to say the least. Okay, there's things you sign, and there's things that they enforce upon you when you work for aerospace companies, and especially if you work around very sensitive areas. So I got to honor all that, and so don't ask any really tough questions if you're going to make comments, etc. I just can't really say exactly. I may give you a little bit of direction, maybe regions or areas. I may even do a state. I could do a city, I guess, but I'll have to be extremely careful. So just so you understand, it's just the way the game is played. So anyways, let me start out by telling you this particular one, which I think is pretty interesting. I was traveling between locations for this particular aerospace company. I was going from one facility to the other. And on the plane, I met an engineer for this particular aerospace company. And he knew through our conversations that I was involved and had, security badge, security with this particular aerospace company. So I think he felt somewhat comfortable having conversations with me. So we started talking. I can't quite remember how we got on the subject, but I made him aware that I was interested in UFOs and UFO related information, of course. Now, I didn't really just straight out ask him. He pretty much volunteered what I'm going to tell you. And what I was quite shocked that he told me this, only because obviously I would say this is pretty top secret, I guess is the best way to say it. But he didn't give me any down in the weeds detail about any of this, but he gave me some pretty interesting stuff that got me really my eyes wide open when he told me this. So like I said, we were talking about UFOs, and he was interested in the subject matter, et cetera. And he was an engineer, an aerospace engineer, and he worked on all kinds of different projects. So he said, well, let me tell you this. We're working on an interesting project right now. And the project was, drum roll, it was putting special type radar, and a very special type radar. I just don't mean a different kind of radar. I mean something driven on a different platform that actually could see and detect UFOs inside one of our fighter jets. So that was pretty much it. I mean, he wouldn't give me a lot of information. I was sort of startled that he told me this. And by the way, I did confirm that he was an engineer for this particular aerospace company. I mean, we actually kind of showed each other our badges and our credentials. And so that, he would open up if he wanted to with me, and he felt reasonably comfortable that I already had gone through the screening process to work for this particular aerospace company. But he told me, he says, I'm not going to give you very much detail. I know you're interested in UFOs and things, but I thought you'd find this quite interesting. And and that was kind of it. I think what happened is he kind of realized that he had told me, and he was a little maybe second guessing himself that maybe he shouldn't have said anything. But I reassured him. I said, listen, I'm not gonna go out and go and run around and tell anybody this, et cetera, et cetera. Now I know I'm telling this to you, but there's no way you're going to be able to identify who this person was, obviously. So anyways, that was fun. I really never said anything. I may have told a few people, but not so much in the public. But anyways, it was pretty incredible. This was about, I guess I can tell you this, it's about 10 years ago that this happened. What is also fascinating is that if you, I'm quite sure these very famous East Coast, what do they call them, the TikTok sightings of the UFOs out of the military planes was probably a little later than 10 years ago. I don't quite remember if it was 7 or 8 years ago that they actually happened. But anyways, I don't know if that technology was the technology that they used in these jets to actually see these UFOs. I don't know that for sure. I'm only speculating there, etc. So anyway, so that is kind of story one. Okay, so story two again. I will tell you this took place in the northwestern part of the United States. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to zero in any more than the northwestern part of the United States. I was working for doing some work for an aerospace company. And anyways, one of the, after I was there for a while, I was talking to some of the guys that work for me. And I kind of always like to let everybody know I'm kind of have an interest in UFOs and aliens and stuff like that. And that sometimes that means something to people. Sometimes they just laugh and say, well, you're crazy. But whatever, there's enough people out there that have an interest that will kind of come to the site and say, hey, I had a sighting or I had this. So I always throw it out there so people can, at least access me to tell me stories or listen to anything I may tell them about similar stories, etc. So anyways, this time I was actually went outside of the build of our facility and was just kind of standing there, kind of looking up in the sky. And this guy came up to me and he kind of knew I was interested in this stuff. He says, what are you looking at, for UFOs? And I said, well, no, I'm just out here getting some fresh air or whatever. And I said, yeah, if one would come along, I'd probably look at it. I'm not going to not look at it. And he said, well, listen, you come out here more frequently, you may be able to see something. I said, what do you mean? He said, if you look over here to this other cluster of buildings, there's a facility over there that is, we're not too sure exactly, at least I'm not too sure who is in those facilities. This is a big complex of buildings, and there's not only the company that I was doing business for there, but they have other subcontractors that are in these buildings to be close to the main contractor, which was the aerospace company, right? So he said, I don't know who's over in that building there, but occasionally I've seen vehicles late at night kind of raise out of that area and kind of hover over there. We had all kinds of crazy lights on it. Had no sound. It had nothing that looked like an airplane or any aircraft I'd known. It had lights on it, and it seemed to be a kind of a flat, almost like a UFO shape, but of course it was dark, so it was hard to tell. He said, I never saw these during the daytime, but at night they seem to must go in and out of that area. And then later, and that was really the end of that conversation. I stood there for a while. I didn't see anything, right? Okay. So then a little later, I probably a couple of weeks later, happened to be out there again, and kind of now I'm a little curious because now I'm looking in that direction. And anyways, another guy comes up to me and he said, did so-and-so tell you about the whatever UFOs or whatever coming out of that cluster of buildings? And I said, well, yeah, he mentioned he saw some lights and stuff over there. I said, yeah. And so he said, I think the rumor has it that the CIA has a facility over there that they're messing with something over there. And I kind of laughed. I sort of didn't think the CIA would have too much to do with that type of thing, but who knows? Obviously he kind of had a feeling. And a lot of some of these people actually knew a lot of stuff because they worked for this particular aerospace space company for many years. So anyways, so then about 2 months later, I was actually outside there, and I looked over in that direction, and sure enough, I saw some lights, but they didn't hover. This was the interesting thing. These particular ones shot like straight up in the sky. I mean, it was so fast. I swear I had a blink. If I would have blinked, I would have missed it. That's how fast this thing was moving. And it was just like a blur of lights that came shooting right out of that area. So to this day, I don't really know what it was. I really didn't have any other conversations with any of the people that worked there over it. But anyways, I thought it was pretty fascinating, pretty interesting. Maybe it was indicating that, our agencies work very closely with aerospace companies on UFO type technology. Yeah, I believe that was, I don't believe that was an alien technology. I believe that was, internal technology from the aerospace company. So anyway, so that's kind of story one. So I hope you thought that was kind of interesting. I'm sorry, that was actually story two. Okay. We already had story one, which was the engineer, aerospace engineer. So story three was in another facility. And this one I can tell you, it's in, because there's plenty of them down there. It's in Southern California. And I had worked for a couple aerospace companies in Southern California. I've done work for them. Anyways, this particular one, we had a room in which we kept parts, sensitive, I guess you'll call them top secret parts in there. And they had special codes to get into this particular facility. And, some of my people were people that actually had these codes. That said, I didn't actually have them. They didn't allow them out there. And these particular people were long-term people that they could, I don't want to say they couldn't trust me, but I honestly didn't really want them. As long as there was a couple of people that could get in and out of this particular room, that was the important thing. And I've been in the room, and there was a cage there, kind of a cage area that they put some very, very top secret parts in there. And, the story goes is one of the deals is you have to, as these top secret parts come in, they have to be kind of inspected, but they don't open them up at all. They pretty much, they leave them intact, but they have to be inspected if there's any damage or it looks like anybody's open. They have this special kind of tamper-proof tape on the boxes. And, if anything looks disturbed or weird, you had to call a special number, and then they send out, people. So anyways, one day one of the boxes were crushed. And, so I got at least to look and see this crushed box, but I couldn't touch it or do anything else. And then, they were instructed to go ahead and call this particular number, and somebody would come out. So I happened to get out of that particular area, and I kind of stepped back and kind of waited because I was kind of curious who was coming out to look at this stuff, because it was somebody different. So 3 guys come out, and they're all kind of dressed in this kind of black outfits. They kind of pull up in I guess like a truck, all black truck. Looked pretty spooky. And they kind of jump out of this truck, and they come out up on the steps, and they go into this room, and they actually talk quite a while to the people that initially noticed it or raised the flag that there was an issue. And I think one of the guys told me that after it was all over, that they said that they couldn't talk about this at all. So it was kind of hush hush. And what they did is basically looked at the parts, they looked around, they went into this particular cage, they looked at everything in the cage to make sure everything else is fine. And they put this thing in like a special another box, and they sealed it up and actually locked it up. It's just the weirdest thing. So I never really did find out what was in there. They always laughed about it. They called that the what was it? Not the UFO room, but the uh, U. I think it was a UAP room. No, not UPA room or something like that. I mean, unidentified parts room or something, because it was such a weird place and they put stuff in there. I mean, the rumor has it that those are parts that they're going to use in some really weird, deep technology, flying technology, vehicle technology that, and of course, a lot of this is strictly speculation, but the way they handle these parts uh, led you to believe that this is something really special. And knowing these companies and being around them for a while, for several years, I had the feeling that there was a lot of involvement in different areas besides just commercial airplanes or military helicopters, or all the different things aerospace companies do. So anyways, that was pretty fascinating while I was there at that particular place. Oh, and they had these crazy codes. Let me just tell you one more thing. The codes to this door thing was nuts, because you had to go through and get all kinds. You had to call people to get codes, and then you had to give them codes so they could give you codes. And it was very strange. I mean, it's beyond anything I'd ever seen. And I've been in the kind of this type of business for a very long time, and I never been seen anything like it. So this, whatever was in these containers and boxes, was really, really special. So anyways, that is part one. Hopefully I got your interest going, and we'll do part two next time around when we have a new video up. Hope you enjoyed it. Please comment. Don't forget, I can't ask too many specific I can't answer too many specific questions, but I love to comment where I can, and maybe have some similar experiences that you like to share. So you can go to dimensionalwalking@gmail.com. Of course, if you like our videos, please like us. And we need your subscriptions, of course. We're here for you. If you need us for anything, please watch all our other videos. We're up to 70 plus videos. Most of these videos that you will see is from our personal experiences, as something we have done in the past. So anyways, part two will be coming up, and that's about it. Thanks a lot. We'll see you. Bye-bye.